All of the man them, all of the girl them, what I want every day we do it for the fun them. Sexy ladies in the party, man about money and you know it's an anthem. Give thanks to the Most High. Every day a blessing you see and we multiply. Bigger picture now your good side. A bigger picture now your good side. Jaba kwa wingi ngoi kidogo, usiogope choma foto. Pigia Cindy, pigia Jojo, na tunarudi soko. Cause I know you sacrifice, tujibambe pamoja. I know you sacrifice, situchome kimoja.
It's all about good vibes, and inshallah. Good vibes, and inshallah. Good vibes, and inshallah. It's all about good vibes, and inshallah. Nina mabeshte ndani kwa gari, kila siku tunapare. Nina mabeshte ndani kwa gari, kila siku si tunapare.
Nina mabeshte ndani kwa gari, kila siku tunapare. Nina mabeshte ndani kwa gari, kila siku tunapare.
Good vibes, and inshallah. Good vibes, and inshallah. Good vibes, and inshallah. It's all about good vibes, and inshallah. Mabeshte ndani kwa gari, kila siku tunapare. Mabeshte ndani kwa gari, kila siku si tunapare.
Trips and young romances, breakups and second chances. Our rhythm steers through all these years. If love is a drum, you are my drummer. I'll dance to your beat only forever. If love is a drum, you are my drummer. I'll dance to your beat. My sukuti love, is it good for me? Is it good for me? My sukuti love, is it good for me? Is it good for me? Bringing the one din din and the boom boom boom, adding Manyati, then it's me and you. My sukuti love. Stolen glances, oceans and wedding marches. Our music plays through all these days. If love is a drum, you are my drummer. I'll dance to your beat only forever. If love is a drum, you are my drummer. I'll dance to your beat. My sukuti love, is it good for me? Is it good for me? My sukuti love, is it good for me? Is it good for me? Bringing the one din din.
Y'all know what it is. We've got 5 mics on the track. We're about to tell you who's taking over.
Yeah, feel the heat when we come through Party Nation. Sexy people around me, Party Nation. All of them man, them looking so fly. Sexy girl, them wiggle and wine. On your feet, boogie and grind. MDQ, baby girl, one time.
Hivi si ufanyaga, si ndio show si upataga, si kwenye flow uko ndo uwaga, champemo mpaka tunamwaga. Remember kuni matanga, boss lady mimi ndo semanga, na wapanga muda na wachanga, mko nje mkisota mkimanga me J's on my feet, inyaga ride on the beat. Tazama I'm a hot tip black bottle on the right. I see everyone's one on my mind, my yeah. Afuzwa ena ulimwengu, wacha tupatane padaye, mbeleni mtatufahamu, hatutakoma hatuchoki, kuwapikia tu matamu, mazuri twakupa kama kawaida, twazidi kutisha hiskwani ya bala.
Yeah, feel the heat when we come through Party Nation. Sexy people around me, Party Nation. All of them man, them looking so fly. Sexy girl, them wiggle and wine. On your feet, boogie and grind. Cabra, let me hear you say.
Bana, niko gauge sana, safi sana. Ati leo hakuna kulala. Fena mayonde, modoni drama queen. Blinky Gago, get physical. You know kama kawaida, it's typical. Who are them? Confidential. Bad man, jump again. Do again. Happy mention. Squad up, congregate. Who are them? Confidential. Bad man, jump again. Do again. Happy mention. Squad up, congregate.
Yeah, feel the heat when we come through Party Nation. Sexy people around me, Party Nation. All of them man, them looking so fly. Sexy girl, them wiggle and wine. On your feet, boogie and grind. Blicky bill, on the beat one time.
Like it's on Billy. I'm really tryna make a milli. Any track I kill it. And the girls they feel it. I really wanna get down low. Weak bit tough, gonna get down low. Squad is back with the heat for sure. Dance floor lit with the beat I know. See the people out here side by side. Vibe is right because we do it right. Getting there so I will take my time. Never late cause this is Kenyan time. Yeah. Okay. Now who taking over?
Who's taking over? He's taking over. He's taking over. Nairobi taking over. Nairobi taking over. Squad taking over. Squad taking over.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
All right, welcome officially to the Power Morning Drive Show. My name is Wanyoike. I'm your host, and this is Power Radio. That was Phenomenal Woman. We have Mayonde, and they were there with their very amazing track, and it's playing right here on Power Radio. This is the Power Morning Drive Show, and kama kawaida, we cruise all the way from 8 a.m. all the way till 10 in the a.m. for Kenya's biggest conversation, if I do say so myself. Remember, you can get in touch with us on our social media handles. We are at Power Radio across Facebook, Instagram. We are on TikTok as well as X. Go right there and show us some love. Like, comment, share all the videos that we upload there to get the conversation going. We, luckily for you, are also on YouTube. We are at Power Radio. If you've not yet subscribed, kindly go there. Show us some love as well. Subscribe. Hit on that notification notification bell so that we can get to notify you whenever we are going live, and we do go live quite a bit. We are also on our website www.power254.org/Power Radio. All right, so now I've already gotten to work, so I need to get you to work. So let's start off with the day's traffic updates, and we start off, of course, with the high and mighty Thika Road, looking absolutely crazy this morning. From KCA University, as you go down towards Pangani, things are not moving. I can also see that there's just off Thika Road, on Muranga Road, a little bit of a snarl up there, especially as you go into town. We also have Kiambu Road not moving, especially as you go from DCI all the way down to Karura. As you go into the intersection of Muthaiga, things are absolutely madness this morning. We also have Wayaki Way. Right from ABC Place, things are not moving whatsoever. There's a little bit of a snarl up there, but as soon as you get into Westlands, we start having a little bit of an opening up of the traffic situation. Lower Kabete Road, things are looking bumper to bumper as you go from Zen Garden all the way to, I can see, Spring Valley, down into Westgate areas. Things are looking hectic this morning. So just a little bit patient. Just be a little bit patient, and you will be out of the woods with no time. I can also see that Ngong Road is not looking too shabby this morning, but also things are not looking as good. We have a little bit of a snarl up all the way from Prestige Plaza. Actually, it starts right behind Junction Mall into Prestige Plaza, then goes down to Coptic Hospital, but then it clears out after that as well. Valley Road is also looking quite busy this morning, but slow but definitely moving, so there's nothing much to say about that as well. I can also see that Oledume Road, things are looking not too hectic this morning. I know it's a little bit slow, but with time, you guys should be out of the woods in a nick of a time. I can also see that Langata Road is looking quite busy this morning. Yeah, of course, the traffic always starts building up slightly after Bomases of Kenya, down to Wilson Airport, as you go further down to Weston Hotel, and also further down to Nairobi West Terminal as you go into Bunyala Road. And speaking of Bunyala Road, it's madness this morning. Please, if you can avoid that route, kindly do so. I can also see that Lusaka Road, at least things are a little bit, actually there's a lot of traffic on Lusaka Road as well, because I get everybody is trying to get into town on time. The same goes for Jogoo Road. Things are absolute madness this morning. I can also see that Cabanas is looking quite hefty. Oh my lord. Mombasa Road is looking hectic from that area of Cabanas, and then we also have a little bit of a snarl up as you go towards Capital Center, and then a little bit of a build up there at Bellevue, but then as you go into Bunyala Road pia unapatana na ingine. So not to worry, you guys will be out of the woods with no time. But in case of any accidents, remember you can get in touch with us on the aforementioned social media handles at Power Radio across all of them. Hashtag to use is hashtag Power Morning Drive. Yes, and we will get you to work. If you see any accidents or incidents, do let us know with those aforementioned hashtags and social media handles. Right now, let's get into some music, and then we'll come back and get into the day's local and international news roundup. This is Power Radio.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
This is Hendrik Sam.
Misikatai, unanidai, akiwalahi, ninaogopa sitadinai. I want you to lie, ni vile I'm trying to find good love, baby, baby. I'll be the one for you. utangoja, yeah. Mpenzi utangoja, yeah, yeah. Sitaki we uchoke, yeah. Sitaki we uchoke, yeah. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. If you wait for me, I don't need nobody else. I'm trying to find good love, baby, maybe, and I'll be the one for you, baby, maybe, I'll be the one for you. I'll be the one for you. I'll be the one for you. Don't you take your love away. Take your love away. Don't you take your love away. I'll be the one for you. Don't you take your love away. Take your love away. Don't you take your love away. I'll be the one for you.
Got the beautiful Miss V on them vocals. Calligraph Jones in the place. Rabbit. Teamwork. Let's get it.
From outer space, out of this world, we come in peace, tell your master all. We are taking over this place right now. But bring your crew, you can let them know. We in town, they should dress up for the show. We are bringing down this town tonight, oh. In an African party, we stomp our feet on the ground. We raise our hands in the air and say, hey, hey, hey. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare madem na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare madem na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu.
Imagine, hivyo ndo muingianga kwa klabu au jasikia tunakula life na adabu na masela sela. Wana hela hela umenijazka hiu. Mase hela hela ni jui basi tela tela ni king kaka. King of Zamunda, tuko ndani na tumedunga. Kaka clothing we bado mtumba. Mina manager tuko tight anajua mini spend thrift. Meza drinks nimezipanga kama Tetris.
In an African party, we stomp our feet on the ground. We raise our hands in the air and say, hey, hey, hey. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare madem na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare madem na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu.
Bro, check it. Yo, I go like boom, 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 boom. Mikono kwa hewa nikifika tu kwa boom, 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 boom. As I be rolling when I be the cruise, so boom, boom. Get out the way. I'm feeling like money today. I'm here to pour it up all over the club. I'm willing to pay, so that's how I plan to go and tap it. Hey y'all, feed what up, let's make it happen. I'm here to get it cracking. Shorties are telling me that I'm attractive, cause they be feeling the swag, I'm classic. Call me Papa Jones, and that's it. That's it, that's it, that's it. I'm on.
Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare madem na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu. Luka, leo hatulali jo. Dunda, asubuhi mpaka kesho jo. Washanare madem na machali tu. Usijali hali mikono juu.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio. From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Studio, listen to that boom bop go. We got this. Me and all the homies know music is our food for show. We got this. Living in the studio, listen to that boom bop go. We got this. Me and all the homies know music is our food for show. We got this.
I can't help but feel punished. I can't help but feel vanished in shadows of those walking behind me. Those I light the way for. Those are nurtured, pain and explained and paved the way for. Down to public shaming, tired of blaming, pointed fingers, hot cold, feigning joy, looking bars, smoking cranium, eyes my head bobbing, eyes sobbing from police tear gas. Down the chicks trickling, buzz face sickly, frown, look around, sicking thoughts, puzzling, joining, troubling doors, puffing, sniffing, make you groove, guzzling, drinking, take your shots, frozen, posing, much to prove, chained up, pleading in the cold, ice colder people move. Ah!
Living in the studio, listen to that boom bop go. We got this. Me and all the homies know music is our food for show. We got this. Living in the studio, listen to that boom bop go. We got this. Me and all the homies know music is our
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
All right, welcome back to Power Radio. This is the Power Morning Drive show. My name is Wanyoike, and let's get into our day's conversation, rather our day's news headlines. And we start off with, of course, the embattled Deputy President, Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, who is on the impeachment, who is on an impeachment dock, and a whopping 291 members of parliament have signed a petition calling for the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The tabling of an impeachment motion against the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua yesterday, the first under the 2010 Constitution, marked the beginning of the end of his political marriage to his boss William Ruto after months of shadow boxing. It had been preceded by quiet wars that at times saw Mr. Gachagua avoid setting foot at State House, sometimes to the point of near physical brawls with operatives in the corridors of power, which the Deputy President alluded to in his recent television interview. In the interview, he said a senior politician had confronted him at the airport and berated him for rocking the boat from within. You remember that some of the offenses that Mr. Gachagua has been accused of, that's why it has led to this impeachment showdown, is that he's accused of committing serious offenses under sections 13, 1A and 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act, under which Mr. Mutuse enumerates that the Deputy President's persistent, inflammatory, reckless, and inciting public statements over the past 2 years are offenses under Section 13(1) and 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act. We've also seen that he apparently has been portrayed in bad light. One of the charges against the DP is that he has portrayed his boss in a bad light. It was unprecedented when the second in command publicly criticized his boss last week for what he called double standards on the issue of anti-government protest. In this, he said that, and I quote, the president said it was the Ford Foundation that sponsored the protests The other day, he went to meet the Ford Foundation. What are we saying as a country? So that was Mr. Gachagua. So, but there's something just interesting about public office. Anything can be read as anything, and especially in a politically charged country as Kenya, where we never seem to get off of electioneering period and active politicking. I think if you're a holder of public office, I think the call is to just really be responsible in what you say and how you say it. And of course, this impeachment could be quite unconstitutional, because those are not, I don't think that it has anything to do with what he has done. I think for sure, because of politics, again, it has to do with safeguarding interest in 2027. We are going into the ballots in the next 3 years. And of course, a person who is looking as if they are rocking. You've heard Mr. Mutuse saying that he is supposedly or apparently rocking the boat from inside. That could potentially mean that he is climbing up his support base, so that probably he could become president in 2027. And in this country, one term of presidency is not something that is palatable, for sure. So really, you have to read in between the lines to see what exactly is happening when it comes to DP Gachagwa's impeachment as we go along. So that story, there's more on DP Gachagua happening on the page 6 and also on page 7 of the Daily Nation. We also have some MPs. They're questioning about his wealth, and we have here a story on page 7 of the Daily Nation, looking into Gachagwa's vast 5.2 billion empire. And it says that 5.2 billion empire acquired by embattled Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in the last 2 years is at the heart of his impeachment. This is against his known annual income of 12 million Kenya shillings. The impeachment motion, sponsored by Kibwezi West Member of Parliament Mwengi Mutuse, lays 11 grounds for the removal of the deputy president from office. Mr. Gachagua is accused of acquiring pricey assets, including parcels of land, luxurious hotels, high-range apartments, and a beach resort, which are suspected to have been obtained through proceeds of corruption and money laundering. For the past, So those are some of the things. We also have had issues about him being accused of having proxy farms. So everything in the bid to towards the ouster of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Out of the 291 MPs who want Gachagua out, we have among them Kuria Kimani, that's the MP of Molo. We have George Gitonga of Tharaka. We have John Kiarie of Dagoretti South. We have Shadrach Muiti of South Imenti. John Mutunga of Tigania West. We also have Hamisi Chomwe of Voi, and many others, which, by the way, it's even funny because some of these are within his the Kenya Kwanza were among the Kenya Kwanza alliance as well. So Kenya's political landscape, or really any other political landscape, tends to they say that there is nothing permanent when it comes to politics and governance. So yes, it's another day in politics, and so let's see whether the ouster is going to be successful, if at all it will be, and what that might potentially mean for the future of the Kenya Kwanza government, for sure, but also for the future of Kenya Kwanza. I mean, we've had many people who are already on the lineup to becoming deputy president, among them Anne Waiguru. Many questions around that. We also have some people pushing Millie Odhiambo to becoming the deputy president, and some other names that we shall be talking about as those happenings in parliament unfold towards this ouster of the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua. All right, let's get into some more when we come back. For now, let's take a quick break. We'll see you on the other side as we continue with our day's news headlines. This is Power Radio.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Young days for young hearts, fast days for running hearts. I found my place in an empty jar of hearts. Said I was crazy cause I fell in love. How amazing, I was like a dove. But the air above couldn't find a place for art. The heartless, great minds left behind. The questions they asked, the answers we had, but our voices we asked, why could they not be heard? In the pages of my diary, I write a little story. That's all I'm left to do. With pages black and blue, in the pages of my diary, I write to you in symphony. That's all I'm left to do. With pages black and blue. Storytelling for the young at heart. A story is told of a man who had no heart. He had no heart. He had no heart. He had no heart. All he did was gather masses, lie and cheat so he could pay no taxes. Greed and power were the basis of his life. The heartless, great minds corrupted by hate. The lies we've been told from the days of the old were to keep us from seeing the state of our being. In the pages of my diary, I write a little story. That's all I'm left to do. With pages black and blue, in the pages of my diary, I write to you in symphony. That's all I'm left to do. With pages black and blue. 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 In the pages of my diary, I write a little story. That's all I'm left to do. With pages black and blue, in the
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Community imekuwa koti na sasa wanamjudge tu, wanauliza anatafuta nini akitembea usiku na skati yake imembana, vitai tena sana, ati mbona kupiga nduru ama alifilikiwa tamu tena sana, mbona kusema no na huyu jamaa wa base anakonga mpole tu, na hii tabia tukoshua haezi tu, anafila akili yake iko karibu kulipuka juu ya mawazo zimejificha kwa kichwa, akikumbuka vile mkono alifinywa huku mdomo amebanwa kwa sana, ati yeye ndio alitaka na alikipatapata. Hizi thoughts zinaongeza volume mpaka anajogopa, unadhani hahitaji help juu hawajui brain yake ina feel nini. Hizi ni zaidi ya adrenaline, ni poison, ni kong tena sana na tayari na spread fast. Anaishi tu ama anaishi kusurvive, anatry kufind refuge, kwanza kujidanganya uko aje, niko poa, niko poa, niko poa, niko poa. Hizo picha ziko mwaki akilini zinamfungia, kwanza kwa past yake words kama innocence sahiya zi make sense, hata mashtaka isipomfavor hiyo si coincidence. Pain yote imembidi ajikubali, amejisamehe, anasema blanda ni ilikuwa anatembea usiku na skati zake fupi, guilt kujiblame na shame sipati yake tena, zile possibilities alikuwa nazo sahi ameziondoa, hana doubt tena juu ya value yake, sahi ni infinite, anapiga yoga, zumba, vitabu anaandika, anafoka, yeye ni mshairi. Hii experience ilikuwa painful but sahi yako grateful, imemfunza kuempathize na watu wamekipitia kama yeye, imemprove ya true friends wenye hate na minimal love. Anapenda yule mtu amegrow, ameforget zote za past, anaishi za sahi, kesho na pia future. I feel sorry in herself, hati yake ni big, imeaccommodate. Hii ndio her new identity na ameikubali, anajipenda vilivyo, ashakuwa sawa, amekuwa sawa, hata nyamaza.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Baba Taifa, katiba ilitupatia provision ya governance kugovern hii country. Only kukuwa na governors wanatu bado juana pickpocket mfuko ya wanyonge na life zao. Sharon, Masi Keino na ile Wycliffe aliparanya nayo. Koti ni zetu sote, ndo tusikizwe. Sisi tukiingia na jeans, wao wanaingia na suti ya suruali, shati na tai kotini, na bodyguards wako na mpini za kuintimidate majajiko. Hama imegeuka mwiko, haigongi tena, na vile wanatukaranga ndio inatushangaza. MP alisema pesa za CDF waja disperse bado. Tuko fourth financially, anashangaa wana run aje hizi shits. Ama walikipchoge na pesa ya kujenga choo. No wonder wana represent uchafu bungeni na kupitisha agenda za kununua blankets ndio walale time za proceedings. Kofi za kidero kwa sura ya shebesh ndio order of the day. Kuwa na scandal ndio ukuwe mrelevant. Kula mita ukiwa finance minister, dai ujui zilienda wapi ndio ufanye governor utumumunye. When youth ukule pesa NOS uzeeke urun for governor. Why? Enyewe hapa lazima ukuwe guru. Fungua slit ama ufanywe kiguru. Useme ukweli, upigwe kidi ama upotezwe na chopa. Uchizishwe kilazima kama unadai kubaki sonko. Mr. Speaker sir, Mr. Speaker, unanipotezea muda na mic umezima. Shenzi.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
16, 17 years maybe. Njoki. Na tayari kuna memba. Amekuja hapa kitamani atasikizwa kwa hizo ofisi zenye viziwi. Wana control communication channel. Hii story itakuwaje news na vyombo vya habari zishadampiwa kwa sink. Anaambiwa kuna progress na vitu zinatembea na pathway ya merry-go-round. The same thing for the same people. Tenda kwa yule tu mse moja na kwangi soft. In fact ni sandpaper kwa sura zenye si familia kwake. Utumishi kwa wote kwa uniform wa yezi staru binafsi na unyama. Boots unafan na taksi yako ndinavunja shoulder za mama mboge na mwacha kiwabeka kando ya barabara. Mimba already kuna 14 days old. Na tayari na feel too weak. Akiona picha dunia mtoi wake atakuja kuingia. Dunia viongozi wa kesho wanakuwa impeach leo. Na wenye wanaongoza leo wanaongoza na mlango za nyuma. Justice kamili utakosa. Anauliza polisi wanafanya nini kuhusu kifo ya chali yake. Ripoti zinasema 11th wa chali yake limpata akiwa 420. Na kijana angewahi feel high unless ako juu ya rooftop. Kuzaa kijana ni kaa grave offense na nikaofai kupenda sheria. Kauko kwa low class. Sikuwa najua nalia. Until surake kaniface, sikuwa najua nataka makumbusha kusahau everything for the past. Sikuwa najua kuna foundation, hopeless ya hope. Sikuwa najua kuna kisu, kamba na pitu kwa bag. Patia mkubwa kipande cha chai in the name of kitu kidogo na utawahi ulizwa ID yako iko wapi. Chiefs wana support visibility zao na glasses but still they cannot see things right. Kama una lugha moja na mzee wa nyumba 10 hamwezi shikana pamoja hata mkipewa super glue. So kijana hata kidedi mtaani ni hard kufuatilia chain of command cause unaweza jipata umetiwa pingu mwishowe na hiyo command. Arambe siku hizi tunafanyanga vijana wamefuata nyayo za marehemu. Risasi inachukua innocent soul ni mob kuliko zile zinapoteza roho za majangili. Kuambia polisi kuna haki za kupewa fair trial kotini ni kaa kumpea majaribu. So kijana anajiuliza nani atasimamia familia yake. Njoki anajiuliza nani atamsimamia na mse angepeleka vitu majua alishafupishwa forever. Na mtoto wake atagrow aje tall kama cha polisi we ni dwarf tu. Na since amekaa kwa reception room for the past 8 hours anaamua kwenda msalani pretending to make a short call though simu aliacha kwa meza na kabeba ile bag yake ilikuwa na pitu, kisu na kamba.
Wow, that is Njoki, and it's a piece by Mtanashati himself. He's in the studio with me on the Power Morning Drive Show alongside our very own program manager, Miss Marion Ngayi at Power 254. And we are going to be talking about the role of artivism in promoting democratic processes. Of course, remember the hashtag to use is hashtag Power Morning Drive. You can also get in touch with us on our social media handles in case you have any, let us know, questions, comments, you want to request a piece from Mtanashati himself, do so. We are at Power Radio across all our social media handles. We are also, this live broadcast is live on YouTube. If you've not yet subscribed, kindly go there on YouTube channel at Power Radio, subscribe. We are also on our website www.power254.org/Power Radio. But before we get into our day's conversation, I would kindly request our guests to introduce themselves and to let us know how they are feeling. Karibuni sana Power Radio.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. So I'll start with the one that is on my immediate right.
Good morning, Power people.
Yes.
It's a powerful morning, and I'm happy to be part of this show. Thank you, Wanyoike. My name is Marion Ngayi. I'm the programs manager at Power 254, and I'm excited about talking about artivism, one of my favorite discussions to have.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And to the one on my extreme right.
Thank you. My name is Kijana Mtanashati. I'm a spoken word artist and a fashion designer. And today is a very good morning. And nimefurahia sana kwa hapa.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And maybe just before we get into the conversation, you've just so powerfully and so beautifully started us off with that piece, Njoki.
Yes.
What was the piece about?
The piece was about police brutality and forceful kidnappings, disappearance. And it also talked about the mental state of the youths pale mtaani. So umesikia hapo nimeongelea stories za suicides.
Yes.
Nini tuko na teenage pregnancy, nimeongea stories za P2, abortions. Hizi vitu zote hufanyika pale mtaani. Na tuko na corruption, lazima upeane kitu ndio something ifanyike. Then tuko na ubaguzi. So the same thing ina happen for the same people. So unaona kama unajulikana mahali fulani kwa serikali,
yes,
you will always get that opportunity ukienda kutafuta kitu. So those are the things yenye nimeongelelea kwa Njoki. Imekawa almost everything pale mtaani.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And so, yes, as I had mentioned earlier, today we are going to be focusing on the role of artivism and you know, what happens when art meets activism. So that's how we end up with artivism and its role in promoting democratic processes. And I would love to start my conversation today with asking Marion, for you to shed a light on what is this thing called artivism. We've heard it so many times, but what is it?
Thank you so much, Anne. So artivism is a very simple idea. Artivism is a combination of activism and art.
Yes.
So it's the use of artistic expressions to break down complex societal issues into simple issues that can be understood by everyone. So this could be in form of theater, literature, performance arts, music, visual arts, and all those forms of artistic expressions.
Right.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what it is about.
Okay.
Yes.
And from where you stand, what would you say the perception of artivism is in Kenya?
Wow, that's such a nice question. But I'd say first and foremost, artivism is a form of entertainment, but that's not where it ends. It's just a bit of it.
Yeah.
So most people in Kenya, even like civil society organizations, corporates, yes, they use artivism. They'll call Kijana Mtanashati to their events.
Yeah.
But they slot a 5 minutes performance. So after the 5 minutes performance, first of all, they have not given him an opportunity to actually explain what is this art about.
Yes.
They've not tried to understand what was the thought process of actually coming up with this piece of art.
Yeah.
They've not understood beyond that performance. What do we use this piece of art to do? So first of all, the perception is it's just entertainment. Number one. Number two, the perception is that beyond the entertainment, nothing much can be done using those pieces. And that is why even during, like, say, protests, you'll see a lot of artists in the streets, but after documentation, so what?
Yeah.
After performance, so what? So the perception is heavily on just entertainment.
Right.
Another thing I'll say is just for leisure, I guess. Even when people go for exhibitions, they're not, they see the art pieces, but what do they make out of those artistic expressions?
Right.
So I think that is what I would say about that. But also they think that it's not, what will I say? It's not part of advocacy. It is part of advocacy and not part of advocacy at the same time. By that I mean, in the advocacy process, during ideation, development of the advocacy campaigns and everything, they're not. It's not really involved as an idea.
Yes.
But then at the end of the advocacy process, it's then just integrated or incorporated.
Right.
So I feel like it's not really taken seriously as it should be. Art is very powerful. We've seen it in the recent days during the Maandamano protest. In the previous years, we've seen what art has done, what movements have used art to do, and therefore we need to change our perception about artivism. Yeah.
Wow. And speaking to the artist in the room himself,
Yes.
First of all, I would kind of just want to start off with finding out what inspired you to get into the artivism space, and would you talk to us about now how the perception? She's talked about how, for example, the corporate spaces, just don't even give the artist enough time to maybe perform. So how has your experience been in penetrating some spaces with your artivism?
The inspirations, first of all, nikianza sana, it was like a hobby. I just wanted to express what I have inside. But now, there's no way utaita wasee show, then they're facing other problems.
Right.
Na ni pale mtaani, nyinyi wote mko on the same ground. So now, unapata, you are supposed to go on a show on Saturday, na unapata, hiyo Saturday watu wamemkia matanga. So kuna hiyo news, na ukiangalia unapata msee fulani aliuliwa na polisi. Why? No reasons. Unaona? So now, I have to talk about this.
Yes.
Now the moment nimeanza kuongelelea, sasa hapo ndio unapata like hizi vitu zinafaa zisikizwe.
Yes.
Now so ukiongelelea watu wa mtaa wanasikia, but now as an artist you have to put meal on the table. Na sasa hapo unaanza kuhustle. Now umeitwa show na unaenda kuperform advocacy messages and all that. Now unapata kwa event msee anakuona kama msanii, and they take art as a form of entertainment kwa breakup sessions and all that. Now sasa imagine umekuja na message yenye is so powerful enough yenye kila msee anafaa asikie. But now sasa yenye watu wanaenda kunywa chai is the now time inaenda kuperform police brutality and all that.
Yeah.
Then the same people wakirudi mtaani wanapata polisi wamefanya something, they are the same people wanaanza kuargue. Then unajiuliza what's wrong with the society at the moment, because ile time wanataka message zao zifike huko kwa ground wanaita msanii. Ikifika ile time sasa msanii afaa kule nao, na unapata wanakuweka kwa break na unakwambia hatuna budget lakini fanya hivi, tunakupea platform. Unajua you never know who's watching.
Yes.
So imagine sasa unaambiwaje unaenda kukula platform, ama unaambiwa kuna open mic fulani. So like my brother Mufasa said, like open mic don't pay bills. So
wow.
Na sana wasanii kama sisi wenye tuko kwa field ya advocacy na activism haikuangi rahisi.
Yeah.
Because hizo ndio pieces zenye huwezi enda tu anywhere perform.
Yeah.
It must be specific people, specific forum.
Yes.
And those forums si mingi zinaweza kulipa msanii vile inafaa.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. And focusing now on the specifics of the role of activism in influencing democracy, how does it happen? What is the circuit? What are some of the narratives that activism uses in influencing democratic processes, including governance, and how do we leverage on them?
First of all, I think I'll start with the most recent events here in Kenya.
Yes.
And when I say recent, I say as recent as yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday, we saw people on the streets. They were going to, advocate or rather demand for the release of Morara, the famous activist.
Yes.
And when you look on social media, even the first poster I came across was a poster of, I think, some artistic posters on how release Morara, set him free and whatnot. And so, first of all, I'll start with the recent events, the Maandamano. The Maandamano protest has been one of the most powerful protests in Kenya, the ones by the Gen Z. If you look at the kind of artistic expressions we saw, it was a combination of like artists came together, intellectuals came together, artists came together, young people who are neither in those categories came together to actually demand for accountability from the current regime. And I think one of the most powerful things I saw was different forms of literature, satire, poetry, music, comics, being used by different people on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram to just be able to create awareness and most importantly, mobilize citizens to be able to go on the streets. And afterwards, what did we see? We actually saw people having these conversations. We actually saw people going on the streets. I actually attended one of the Maandamanos, if not, I think, two.
Yes.
And the one I attended was so artsy.
Yeah.
We had DJs on the ground. We had poets performing on the ground. And people were actually on the streets and were able to relate with what was going on because of those artists. We even saw influencers, which I categorize them as artists as well, because they are creators. We saw people like Kina Adele Onyango, Mike Munyiri use their platforms, their satire, Kina Njugush use their comics to be able to communicate what was going on in the country. The result of it was what we saw, the cabinet recall.
Reshuffle,
Recall of the cabinet. We saw, the finance bill was actually stopped by the president, and all those changes that came about.
Yeah.
Now, into the role of artivism from an intellectual perspective in influencing democracy. Number one is for people to be able to express their dissatisfaction with the status quo. And that is what we are seeing right now. For example, if we have high taxation, unakumbuka during Mandamano, there were very many posters that were showing, pads, unataka kani nisinyeshe. It looks like a statement, but that is very a creative way of expressing societal issues and just showing dissatisfaction by Kenyans.
Yeah.
Another thing for me was because of that dissatisfaction expression, now we see the public starts being engaged. The public starts having conversations. They're starting to relate. They can be able to comprehend. Let me tell you, in all the years I've worked in this governance space, this is the year that I've seen people actually understand governance issues in ways that I have unprovoked.
Yes.
Let me say unprovoked. Because initially you used to go to the tar or even just tell even normal people on Instagram the finance bill. Everyone is complex.
Yes.
But then people came together and really simplified them into very simple ideas.
Yes.
And people were able to digest them. People were able to understand and actually start participating. As we speak right now, because of that, people are now attending public participation unprovoked. Mtu akisikia kuna bill ya creative economy support bill, they are an artist, they feel the need to go and participate because of what they saw during the Mandamano. Number 3 is cultural reflection and identity. Honestly, when you looked at the Mandamano, there was a lot of pigs on the streets.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
a briefcase.
There was a lot of coffins. And you see in that, somebody says that as Kenyans, if you carry that pig, you're actually, the current regime is a reflection of who you are. That's very deep. So that pig is what you are. Like we are greedy, we are corrupt, we are all that. And so it helps us even go back as a society and think about our behaviors, our values, our how we exist and just help us be conscious about certain things, reflect and also change certain things in our society, because in the next elections it will be me, it will be Mtanashati, it will be you who wants to run for a women rep position, who wants to go for an MCA position. Will we be looking at you as a pig? Or how are we going to look at you as citizens? Another role of artivism in influencing democracy is basically to just historical documentation and memory. And I say this because what we saw this year is what we are going to actually even use towards the elections. We are going to remind Kenyans, look, this is where we are, where we were at 2 years ago.
Yes.
We are going to remind you that 2 years ago you are protesting against this regime.
Right.
You are protesting against high taxation, against corruption, against oppression. Now, using this documentation, the photos we have, the videos, the comics, satire, all combined are going to give us, show a progress of what our democracy looks like, how we are moving forward. Are we improving? Is it bad? Like right now, we are documenting everything: abduction, police brutality. What does that mean in terms of our democracy, progression of our democracy, and even our human rights space? Are we going backwards or forward? Another thing is amplification of marginalized voices. We have to agree that artivism is one of the best ways of including marginalized societies.
Right.
Case in example, if you go to Kajiado with all this English I'm speaking, do you think they would understand?
Absolutely.
Not to say that people in Kajiado don't understand English, but we must appreciate a culture. We must appreciate that indigenous communities. We must appreciate that also in our country, we are yet to ensure that everyone is at the same level, have access to education, has access to information, has access to technology and all that. So how do you ensure that even this mama who's speaking in Oloitoktok, who's speaking Maasai, is able to understand current affairs, is able to understand democratic issues and be able to also express their needs so that they are able to be incorporated in the budgets.
Yep.
And in terms of implementation, even in the county, even not just budgets, even planning.
Yes.
And so for me, it's a form of inclusion. Apart from even the indigenous communities, let's talk about young people in Kenya. And like I said, for the first time, young people may arise.
Yeah.
And it's because now they're able to have comic satire, and that's the way they enjoy being involved.
Yes.
If you remember or if you recall during the protest, young people were mobilizing each other on Twitter, on TikTok. You'd go on TikTok midnight.
And WhatsApps.
And WhatsApp. Yeah. Wanaongea. And they're not talking this complex language. Wanaongea to reject, inject. It may just look like reject and rejection. Shuka. Rudy home. I actually saw a video even with ile nyimbo ya Rose Muhando. Anapanda ndege anashuka, and that's a very satirical way of expressing dissatisfaction. But also including these marginalized communities like young people, women. Of course, we all know that there's a big gap between access to information between women and men. Young people and elderly. Young people nowadays don't watch news. Where will you find them? On TikTok, on Instagram.
Right.
On Twitter. Tuko na telegrams actually.
Telegram. Uko ndo wanaongea.
That's true.
And their language is art. Their language is creativity. All of them right now are content creators. All of them have YouTube channels. So if we are not able to incorporate artistic expression in our democracy, who is going to critique these things?
Right.
So for me, I think it really plays a big role in inclusion of marginalized communities in the democratic processes, which is a constitutional right, actually.
Yes.
Another thing would be promotion of freedom of expression. As we all know, the Bill of Rights, chapter 4 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, we have a freedom of expression as citizens. So it's just a form of expression. It doesn't, you cannot victimize me or profile me because you know
umeongea something
kama yeye amefanya piece ya GBV. So you cannot come and that's how he feels, that's how he thinks, and he it's a right. It's a right for him to actually express himself however he would wish to. Another thing would be visualization of the future. Remember we said that also it helps us reflect our identity as a country.
Yes.
Who are we? What kind of leaders are we electing? But then looking at the future right now as Kenyans, how do we visualize our future? I don't know, maybe after I finish this, Mtanashati can tell us as an artist, what does the future look like for you as an artist? Does it look like children are hungry, there's no food, people are living in poverty, and it's only artists who are able to actually visualize this and bring it, and from there we are able to decode and say, actually we need to do better. And I'll use the movies we watch like Wakanda Forever. There's these movies that show the future, and it has a lot of things, aliens and the imagination is not just about entertainment, it's about what could be of us. So even in the democratic space, what could be of this nation if we are not able to sort these things? I think maybe Mtanashati can tell us, as an artist, what does this country look like for you? What does the future look like for you?
First, I can say, like, in every society, there will always something missing. And it is the work of the artist, or more of a calling, to fix the missing parts of the society.
Right.
Now, in every artist, see something lenye unaweza kaa chini, then useme, future itakuwa hivi. But you feel it. A society where children are living a good standard of life, na unapata women are respected. Because me example kama msanii, apart from everything, the only people wenye wanaweza kusupport vizuri, unapate sana yako inasonga, the first people wenye wataanza kusupport are women. Your sisters. Hao ndio wataanza kukusupport. Then sasa sisi maboys ndio tutakuja baadaye. Now a society where wanawake wanaheshimiwa, wanaishi zile rights zao ziko respected.
Yes.
That's a good society. Imagine a society where everything is perfect. But a normal society hakuna msanii kubali kitu kama hiyo isemwe. So it is the art and the power of the artist to make sure the future is well visioned. So imagine nikikaa chini, for example, there's a piece I did last year. It was about gender-based violence, and it was like what is happening to our women and girls.
Yeah.
And niliandikia piece like last year January.
Yeah.
Then nikairecord hapo mwezi wa 8 hapo hivyo. So ile siku ya 16 days of activism actually released the piece. And I talk about the brutality women are going when abducted and all that. But unfortunately, tukiingia this year, you saw what was happening hapo January.
Yeah.
Femicides and all that.
Yeah.
And nilikuwa nakaa chini na beshte yangu and tunasema hii kitu niliandika kitambo. Then this thing may happen. Apart from that, you see what wakadinali.
Yeah.
They are gangsters ndio, but lyrics zao kuna zenye zina future. 2 years ago ama 3 walisema kuna siku youths wataungana. And actually they apandizia.
Yeah.
Now sasa ukikasimu unasema wasanii wanakonga sijui watu wa nini. Listen to them.
Right.
Listen to them. Na ukisikia maneno yao actually tunaweza kuwa na future yenyewe haina hizi vitu zote.
Yeah.
Artists they are more like prophets.
They are.
Yeah.
They're very prophetic. And what are some of the challenges that you have faced as an activist, even as you talk about the work that you do?
As an artist in the field of artivism, si wengi watakubali message unasema. Si wengi na mostly serikali. So like kama mimi every time like unapata like tuseme hapo location mwenye mali naishi unapata chief like ako kwa nini ako kwa tuseme speed dial yangu. Ule kijana though sijakuwa sana kwa mainstream but anajua ule kijana ongenga vitu kama hizi. So ni kama na way tu nimetu one simple mistake then like aunganisha everything. Hiyo ni kitu ya kwanza. Then unapata unaambia wase like this message like to say what about a teenage pregnancy. We need to do this and this. Me as an artist I will write a piece and perform. Now watakuangalia hivyo wanasema sasa wewe ni nani? Wewe ni serikali ni all those. Then the thing ni uchumi. Every person whether you are an artist, whether you are a pastor or at the end of the day lazima tu bring something kwa nyumba.
Right.
Now hizi vitu zote so uko na career hapa then uko na tena hustling pia. These are the things yenye lazima saa mi kama msanii ni make sure naenda na at the same time naweza amua nikae chini. But art is more of a calling. There's no way nitakaa chini nikose kuongea about things happening in my hood. So nimekaa chini naona venye tuseme example kuna bridge fulani imetengwa tuseme 50 million itengenezwe. Na unapata MCA na watu wake wameenda kununua tuseme materials second hand za chuma ndio wakatengeneza hiyo bridge. Na bridge kwa mwanzoni hiyo bridge ilikuwa tuseme ilikuwa full hadi magari wanaweza pita. Right now wametengeneza yenyewe the only wheel inaweza pita pale ni pikipiki. Nduthi. So inamaanisha hata mkokoteni inaweza pita hapo. Then budget ilikuwa 50 million. Then ukienda uangalie vitu wametumia hapo ni less than tuseme hata hizi fika 1 million. Now hizo ndio vitu yenye nikikaa chini nasema siwezi nyamaza. I have to speak about them. Wenye wako kwa hiyo hood lazima wajue. Those are the challenges ukiamua kuongea now uko na target on your back. Unaona? So those are the challenges yenye lazima tu kama uko kwa field ya activism kama mimi hizo ndio vitu yenye unapitia. Because ukishaanza kuongea hivi target kwa back yake inamaanisha there is no activity ya pesa unaweza fanya kwa hiyo hood because washaweka nini profile yako iko kwa mahali. So unasikia wale watu wa hiyo certain MCA wanasema ule msee afai kupewa job hapa juu atachoma. But sasa ukikosa kuongea hizi vitu what kind of society
are you living in? That's true.
So imagine pesa yetu tunatoa ushuru then azitumiki. So taxes ziko juu and now services ziko chini. So every year tunazidi tu kurudi chini every year. Then unapata a few individuals wanazidi tu kugrow. Certain person kwa hood fulani yeye anakuanga tu tajiri. So hizi ndio vitu yenye lazima tuongee.
Wow. All right. In case you have just joining us, this is the Power Morning Drive Show. We are here at Power Radio. My name is Wanyoike. I'm in studio with Marion, Ngayi, and Kijana Mtanashati, as is popularly known. And we are continuing to talk about the role of artivism in promoting democratic processes. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we will look at how do we then create sustainable synergies to ensure that this is just not something that we do as a one-off, and then once the conversation ends, we move on to the next thing and the next thing. We need to create sustainability models in how we engage in artivism, as well as advancing democratic processes and where these two intersect. Let's take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, real thing, get a boy, Nico easy. Me cheesy, you know. Yeah.
Just made it.
Kuna jambo la nikera moyoni mababy oh. First of all, you need to know me nakupenda sana. Of course, you are mine, never leave me. When you wangu, my baby boo. Hey, you are so special to me. Hey, ombi langu ni maisha mema, my love. Hey, hata wakibonga, bado tazidi kusonga. If I asked you, my baby boo, then I am sorry. You deserve a better place for me. Up to the sky forever, you and me. Yeah. Ombi langu ni maisha mema, my love. Yeah. Hata wakibonga, bado twazidi kung'ang'ana. If I asked you, my baby boo, then I am sorry. You deserve a better place for me. Up to the sky forever, you and me. My baby, you are my number one. Hata kama leo sina nivumilie. Sifa kwa Mola, kipaji amenipa. Ipo siku tutafly Uingereza. Nite anipete nikuvishe, harusi tuifanye keki nikulishe. Na Mola atujaze upendo, baraka zitufuate kwa huu mwendo. Tuijenge yetu nzuri familia, I swear. Na kumshukuru Rabi, sababu yendo mpaji. Hey, your love for me makes me shine. You are for me, my African woman. Hey, forever me and you. Hey, kisha tusafiri East Africa nzima, Amerikani pia watu tambue. Posti Insta na Twitter, mafans na upongezi tutawapa. Hey, ombi langu ni maisha mema, my love. Hata wakibonga, bado twazidi kusonga. If I asked you, my baby boo, then I am sorry. Yeah, you deserve a better place for me. Up to the sky forever, you and me. Yeah, my baby, you know, mi nakupenda sana. Listen, hey, my baby, you are my number one. Hata kama leo sina nivumilie. Sifa kwa Mola, kipaji amenipa. Ipo siku tutafly Uingereza. Nite anipete nikuvishe, harusi tuifanye keki nikulishe. Na Mola atujaze upendo, baraka zitufuate kwa huu mwendo. Tuijenge yetu nzuri familia, I swear. Na kumshukuru Rabi, sababu yendo mpaji. Hey, you love for me, make me shine. You are for me, my Kenyan girl.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
All right, welcome back to the Power Morning Drive Show. My name is Wanyoike, and I just want to give a very special shout out to those that are joining us online. Ninawaona pale. I'll start off with Wapole Productions. Anasema Mtanashati, Lidi. Asante sana for joining in. Yeah. Francis Onono, he's saying, hi, I missed you. We've missed you too. We've been great. Atianwa Mafro amerudi. Siezi wafunika. Tunatry. Asante sana. Brigadier General, it's good to see you, man. He's saying Afro on point. Thank you. He's also saying nice guest. Nasema Ann, long time, my favorite host of all times. Asante sana. Wow. This is so humbling. Brigadier General is also asking that you play for him Ulafi by himself. So we can definitely do that. We also say, he's also saying that Marion Ngayi, girl, you are lit. Eloquent madam.
Thank you.
Hey, uko na mafans. Anasema ati, I swear those, Francis Onono anasema, I swear those glasses have seen more wisdom than anything else. Anasema that madam is lit. Fire. That's for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thank you so much, guys, for always tuning in. Thank you for your love also on the streets. Yes, asanteni sana for joining in. If you have any questions for Kijana Mtanashati, kindly do that as well. If you have any questions for Marion Ngayi, do that as well, as we are unpacking this conversation about what are the intersections between artivism and advancing democracy and democratic processes. And before we went on to a break, I had mentioned that when we come back, we will look at now the how do we create sustainable systems where, as far as artivism is concerned, and this is where I want to bring Marion to tell us about how do we create sustainable models for artivism, so that you see, yes, in June and July we saw a lot of high octane protests. We saw artists coming out with songs like Angukanayo up to now. They are such a hit song, but then after that it's like it comes wave by wave and then we go back to factory settings. So how do we ensure that we are constantly reworking our models, rethinking about frameworks to sustain this kind of work when artivism is concerned, as far as artivism is concerned?
Thank you so much, Anne. First of all, I want to pick it up from where Mtanashati left. The issue of livelihoods within artivists is a very sensitive and key issue.
Yes.
We have seen artivists transition into the other side because they cannot sustain their livelihoods using the work that they do. Yet artivism by itself is supposed to be a career.
Yeah.
So the perception is by Kenyans that they're just coming to wanafanya kazi ya, how will we call it Mtanashati?
Msanii ni wale watu wanaona nikaa hobby. Nikaa ini hobby nye utafika miaka fulani wachane nayo uingie kwa kazi yenye ulisomea.
Exactly. So they're assuming that these people are probably having some other jobs or whatever. Yeah. But some of these artists actually study art at school. And they decide to be artivists instead of entertainment artists. They decide to be artists who are pushing for societal issues. And so the issue of limited resources in this space, I think, is a very key issue that we should look around. We should actually consider in terms of sustaining artists. And I speak specifically to even civil society organizations. They call an artist and Awambia, we have 10,000.
Yep.
What is 10,000? And that speaks to the lack of actually systems, practical systems that should be able to facilitate artivists to be able to earn a living out of their craft. And I know this whole issue of the creative economy is not just for artivists, but I think artivists face the most of the hurt that comes out of it.
Yes.
Because you see, the entertainment artist, as long as you have a production label or what, you have a manager, you're able to make money. If you're signed up by Sony is able to ensure you get business and whatnot.
Right.
But as an artivist, you're actually just hoping that someone will see you. So how do we ensure that we are able to change some of these systems and ensure that artivists actually have a whole way of earning a living out of their art? They can be able to empower other artivists, mentor them, and also to ensure that we have more people coming in the space. Because if I'm coming in the space to sleep hungry, like he said, open mic doesn't pay bills. So how do we ensure then that these artivists are able to have a proper economic structures, even as civil society or anyone who wants to engage them, to ensure that they are able to benefit from their intellectual property, because whatever they're producing is part of the intellectual property. There's a lot of gender inequality in the space. Women suffer. Women suffer in the hands of producers. I mean, it's general knowledge in all industries. But in this space, women suffer. There's a lot of sexual abuse, gender biases. Hence, most of them are not able to benefit from this. And it's a problem because he said most of his fans are actually women first before any other person in the society.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if we also gave more women platform, if they're empowered more, activism would be a whole movement.
Itakuwa like itakuwa something yenye like unaenda shule unajua vizuri I'm going to be an activist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something yenye umesomea. Unlike sisi manze like mimi nilisoma then nikasema let me start performing as a hobby. Then I realized there's so much into art than just being a hobby.
Yeah.
Then after performing, then I realized this is not just a hobby. There's something actually happening in the society.
Exactly.
Right.
Now I need to bring that to the audience.
Exactly.
Then unapata like it took me time ndio hata nipate wale wasenye wanaweza ni mentor wanaweza nifundisha about art and performance and writing all that. But just imagine somebody now anakuja right tuseme for example a girl child. So each time yote imagine kupata msee kumfundisha and all that haitakuwa rahisi. And then nature ya binadamu, not every human being is good. So watu wengine wako na ulterior motives.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what does impact look like for you as an artist? Come up na spoken word piece, perform mtaani, perform kwa corporate event. What does impact look like for you?
So to me personally naweza kusema like ilifika time yenye I have to change the ways.
Okay.
So nimekaa chini nimeona this is not working for me. Just direct performance I work for me. So what do I need to do? First of all, I have to be a community volunteer. Ni ku-engage na vitu zenye zina happen kwa society.
Right.
Then ile saa yenye tumeorganize community programs and all that and activities. Then all of a sudden nikipata chance ya kuongea, then I will finish with a piece.
Right.
Then actually sema, mzee anakuanga anafanya hii kazi zingine but pia anaweza perform. Now they will actually listen to me. So zile point nasema watakuwa nasikia. Then after that nikaanza kuona sasa unaona sasa Nyasha nasemanga younglings. Wale wadogo wangu sasa wanakuja nasema how do you do this? Inaendaje? So nawaambiaje performance iko hivi na hivi and this. After that wanakuja kusema sasa mimi nitaongelelea nini? Kombe you just go home na fikiria nini unaweza andika. Anything.
Right. Yeah.
Juu kimwambia andike something, you cannot control an artist to write something specific. It has to come from the inside.
Yeah.
Now, by that, now I mentor 1, 2, 3 and all that.
Wow.
Now, the next change ni unapata like somebody anakuja kuambiaje uliongea stories za gender based violence. For example, there is a time I released a piece called Wanaume Urepiwa. And the story was talking about gender based violence against men.
Yeah.
Something yenye si wengi wanaongelelea mtaani.
Right.
And the way I package the message, it'll include almost everyone. Now unapata sasa some of the brothers and all na wanaume wako mtaani wanakuja na kuambia by the this is true. But the problem with us men hatutaki kuongelelea like hadharani. So niko nakwambia umeongea kitu ukweli and this and this we need to do. Talk about these things. So those are the changes yenye naona mtaana. However small ziko nufurahia. Nafurahia hata ka change kidogo aje. Na feel like this is something yenye tukiwasanika 10 hivi or more than that. Tunaweza kuwa na very safe space. Na mtaa inaweza kuwa safe for everybody.
Yeah. Wow. And we can talk here the whole time about artivism, but we have to also talk about how to support the work of artists and the work of activists, and also supporting the sector that is artivism. So from a policy level, from even the economic empowerment of activism and activists to their national engagement, how do we go about supporting the work that activists are doing, and how do we create models that work for them to support this work that so that we can further their contribution towards democratic processes? And you could also speak to the work that Power 254 is doing in engaging that space as well. Okay,
first of all, we cannot provide models without understanding the challenges. We must understand what is the problem. What are some of the problems that these activists are going through? He has already mentioned the issue of livelihoods. He's already mentioned the issue of entertainment and people taking them as if it's just a hobby. But I want to say there are some other fundamental issues that we cannot ignore. Number one, there's the issue of civic education. Do all artivists understand what governance is, what the budget process is, what legal frameworks do we have in terms of governance, human rights, whatever. Even if you're an activist who is interested in environmental justice,
issues,
do you understand then what that space looks like? So we go to the issue of lack of civic education, which is very important for them to be able to create meaningful pieces. Another thing is that how then do we ensure they get education? Also, civil society have to understand what is artivism. Like I said, it's not a 5 minutes performance. Like you said, time ya break, mko kwa meeting, ndo unaita msanii perform. I was somewhere else on, I think, I won't mention the day. The event had ended, my guys. Artists are performing with so much passion. I was asking myself, oh my God, everyone had gone. So I'm like, do these people understand? What is the point of that performance at that point? So even the understanding that we need to have a civil society corporate in for the role of artivism in influencing our work and democratic processes is very important. Another challenge is censorship, repression, profiling, like he said. Kwa mtaa yake, haezi fanya biashara. Because MCA ashaambia gunzu wake, if this guy puts up a business, destroy it. Because he's been calling out our weaknesses, was trying to hold us accountable.
Yes.
So another thing is gender inequality. I've talked about lack of infrastructure. This is a very big problem. Infrastructure comes in forms of financial resources, human capacity, equipment, because for you to be able to be a very good poetry artist, you have to produce your poem somewhere. You have to go to a studio. Where are you getting this money? The producer needs to be paid. The studio owner needs to be paid. Where are you getting these resources? There's very limited resources towards artivism work from an artist perspective, and even from organizations that actually support artists.
Yes.
I am very cognizant that most recently people are overly excited about artivism and art, and they're starting to fund it. But from what point of understanding? Because I usually say, generally, inclusion is very costly. And part of inclusion is actually including these artists in our work.
That's
and
right.
it's costly because you have to have a studio, you have to have a producer. You need to understand the dynamics of the industry as well.
Right.
Another challenge would be there are no guidelines for these artivists. Like he said, yeye angetaka asome, atasoma wapi? Hakuna mahali pa kusoma, hakuna framework inasema artist ni huyu mtu. We are now starting to develop those frameworks even at Pawa, and we're hoping to launch some of our activism programs soon for activists. But then also the lack of that then places an activist in a very confused space. And hence, most of them don't see themselves as business people, which affects their livelihood. Because if I'm a business person, if I'm called by Power to perform, then I give them a red card.
So hapo naweza kusaidia. You see, we artists tuna ignore something like, we believe ukipata manage and all that. But the thing ni, can we be able to turn our passion and hobbies into business?
Exactly.
And in the process, can we still also learn other sectors about business? Can we learn about commerce? Can we learn all about that? Do go to school. Hiyo time yote uko nayo kidogo, you can learn something online. For me, mi nilienda shule nikasoma electrical engineering. And engineer then, job haijatokea. Now, I have to now turn to my hobby. Nikaendelea hivyo, then nikarealize there's so much into sanaa than just performing and writing.
Exactly.
So actually I need to start having my own business. I need to turn this into business as much as I'm an artist. Now nikaka chini nikasema, now I'm an artist in the business of art. Now what should I do now? Sanaa kama imesimama, nitakuwa nafanya kazi aje? Nitakuwa nalisha familia aje? Now I have to learn something online na niende shule tena. So I started learning about fashion designing and all that. Now mama tailor na naweza fanya hizo vitu zote. But at the same time, I'm still an artist.
Exactly.
So unapata msanii akisha focus sana na performance and all that. Inafika time yenyewe hizo vitu zote zimesimama. Na ikishasimama hapo ndio unapata ana job, ana pesa. Now the issue of depression, mental issues inaanza kuingia. Hapo ndio unapata msanii ameanza kuingia kwa drugs and all that. So hizi vitu zote unaweza avoid only kama uko na mpango, unajua after this let me learn another skill. Let me learn about public communication and all that and this. So talent yako ni kuongea. You can actually do public communication and all that speaking. So hizo zote unaongezea kwa nini ya kwa skill zako and these ndio zinasaidianga kwa negotiation of tuseme contract. Now nimekuja kwa Pawa. Now wananiambia tunakulipa this. Ananiambia hii pesa unanipatia sikatai. Hiyo ni budget yenu but the thing ni what inaput kwa sana yangu inahitaji this and this and this. So if you need a good performance you lazima tufike bei.
Exactly.
But kama pesa yenu ndio hiyo, mi pia lazima nikule, so nitawapatia services inalingana ndo yenu. If the money is too small iko chini kabisa now hiyo haitafanya. Because kuna guidelines yenye nimeweka na kuna vitu nimeput into my work and I deserve that kind of money.
Exactly.
Wow.
And thank you so much for pointing that out. And I just want to pick something from that he said that amesema anaita sana saa zingine inaenda chini. And that's about seasonality. Why activism is not a seasonality thing. It's like how you say advocacy is not a one day
event.
It's continuous. So if we integrate activism in our work, even in influencing our democracy work, then msanii atasema kazi ya sana inaenda chini. Because allow me to say that even as part of the solutions that we need to understand that activism is about ideation, research, creation, delivery, and having conversations, and now building networks, even during that delivery and influencing change. So if you're not able to go through this cycle, then how do you expect Mtanashati to actually deliver? Another thing is that, well, I really appreciate and applaud you for carrying yourself as a business person. Because then you're able to trade, you're able to change the narrative in the activism space. And that's what Pawa is trying to do. If all organizations, corporates, everyone who engages activists understand what it is, then they will let them trade as a business. The same way, when you're asking for printing, you don't say we have 10 shillings. You say, bring your quotation, how much will it cost? Then we budget for it. The same way we also want to change that mindset in the activism space. That if we want to engage an artist, we ask them, bring in your quotation. How much do you charge? And from there, we are able to plan within our budgets to support their livelihoods, but also appreciate their intellectual efforts to create the pieces that they create for us. I want lastly to say that copyright issues is a very big challenge in the activism space, and not just the activism, but the creative economy generally. I say the creative economy because Pawa also works with other creatives that are not activists. And so you have to understand, you don't want to be told you plagiarize someone's work, you are being sued left, right, and center. Legal issues are very expensive. And so for me, I think there's need for a lot of awareness to be able to empower artists, first of all, from a civic perspective, for them to understand the issues they're pushing for. Number two, from a business angle, for them to be able to monetize their work and be able to change the narrative in this space. And number three, to be empowered to understand the dynamics in the activism space, because activism is part of the creative economy. So what does it mean in terms of copyright, intellectual property? How do you register your piece? How do you protect your piece? It's not
Patents.
just how do you patent and all that, which is a topic that probably you can have some other day. How do we navigate these challenges? Number one, as I've already mentioned some of them, but also artists need to build networks. While they are creating, they cannot just create alone. I think, yes, you can have an idea, but I remember us doing the Sauti Tetezi album that was funded by the US Embassy some time back through the Sauti Tetezi project, and it was part of it. And you see there's power in unison. Through, when you're together, you're able to brainstorm better, you're able to have better ideas and all that. And it's not all the time. Of course, you have to see the time for collaboration and the time where you want to go solo.
Like about collaboration and network. It's about the piece I just performed, Njoke. Njoke actually was not the original piece for the album. So tumekana meeting and all the artists and tumeandika kila msee alikuwa na piece yake for the album. Now, the last day, now nimekaa chini na msanii mwenzangu nikwambia, me personally I'm not feeling these piece. Then akaniambia, you see, if you're not feeling the piece, inamaanisha hata sisi wenyewe atu feel the piece. So now what you have to do, kaa chini nufikirie what you need to change in the piece, or you can write another piece.
Now,
nikaenda home, and the whole night I was like, nitaandika nini? then ikifika hapo saa 5 I started writing like 16 and all that. Then by the time inafika saa 7 nimemaliza. So the morning to recording, it was actually on Thursday.
Yeah.
So the morning nikafika studio and nikaambia producer, nimbadilisha ile piece.
Yeah.
So it was like, so nataka tubadilisha the instrumental and all that. Nikamwambia kila kitu tabaki but the piece nimechange.
Yeah.
Akaniambia, you see, juu ilikuwa collective idea, you can actually consult with the others, then wajue hii piece kwaje. Then the time when nilikuja nikasoma the piece yote, and so like wakaniambia, the piece is perfect. Now you have to change the delivery and put this tone and all that, give it the emotions and all that. Hizo vitu zote singeweza contribute on the piece.
Yeah, wow. And I would like to also engage Mtanashati on this issue of, we've had so many cases of activists actually getting involved in some human rights violations cases. We've seen them killed. Others have been abducted forcefully. We've had others being, injured on this, on the line of their work. So how does self-care and even justice look like? How do you navigate this? Because it's a very strenuous and mentally draining space to be in. So how does an artist navigate this, those specific challenges that have to do with their own human rights?
First of all, bado nitaeko kwa point ya Marion. There's collaboration, networking, and building a community.
Yeah.
You cannot move a mountain alone.
Yeah.
You have to add a community ndio kusaidia kusukuma hiyo.
Yes.
Now, ikifika stories of insecurity and all that, kwa msanii. For example, niko hapa hivi. Nimekujiwa na karao, si ndio? Najua vizuri karao kwa pale kwa mlango, na niko na backdoor. Shida si kuwa na backdoor. Shida ni ukitoka na hiyo backdoor unaenda wapi?
Exactly.
That's the thing. So unaweza piga mali niambie ni aje, ni kubaya na natoka na ile mlango yangu. Now you have to come and help me.
Yeah.
After that, sasa ndio Marion na connection yake zote unaanza kufuatilia who are these people mwenye wanakutafuta. Then after that, tufanye nini? Lazima tuanze na sheria, tuende hivi tufuate legal process, tuende kwa police station and all that to make sure hao watu wamefikishwa mbele.
Yeah.
Hizi vitu zote zifanya peke yako. So now hapo ndio tunasema networking, building a community is a must and very vital to any artist.
And maybe just to pick it up, is that even mental health is a very key, because most artists, and especially activists, because most of them are usually artists, but they are human rights defenders, they are activists. So there are communities, there's organizations like Defenders Coalition who have provided these provisions for mental health support, psychosocial support for artists to ensure that they are well. And even in case you are being abducted or anything, there's usually, they have a call, a number that you can call and follow up to just ensure that you are able to be supported. But most importantly, I think I'd like to highlight that it's important to share knowledge with these activists, engage them from the word go, so that they're able to understand what they are doing. Number 2, I must say that, by the way, this is part of it's a constitutional right, because it's freedom of expression. And our Bill of Rights is a constitutional right. It's a constitutional right to access information. And what these activists do is channel information. So everything they are doing under the Kenya 2010 Kenya Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the African Union legal frameworks, all those actually have a place for activism and art separately as a form of expression. So if they're able to understand that, they're also able to trade with confidence. They're able to know, like he has said, sheria inasema nini. So that mtu asiimbe akisema anaogopa. But sheria inasema you actually have a right to hold the government accountable. I mean, Article 1 of the Constitution, sovereign power belongs to the people. I think another thing that I want to say is that utilizing digital platforms. We must acknowledge that even during this Mandamano period, it's the digital platforms that helped us. We are calling it civic tech right now. People have different names. So how do we ensure that these young people, these activists, are able to understand the dynamics of using different digital platforms to be able to push their art? si tu kila siku anaenda na performia watu kwa meeting. There's TikTok, people are going TikTok live right now. I can see Mtanashati is live on his Instagram. By the way, go and follow him. And from there they're able to share, they're able to build a community as well, so that even if anything tries if somebody tries to abduct them or anything or violate their human rights, you know, they're able to call out, their community is able to speak. Another thing is also documenting and archiving. Very, very important for artivists. Make sure you document and archive your poetry pieces. Right now we have so many platforms to document and archive. There's YouTube, again, all those platforms. Make sure you document and archive. Nowadays people like to say the internet never forgets. So as long as anything you produce is in the internet, one time in the future we are able to get it, we're able to use it for our own work. I've already talked about artivists familiarizing themselves with legal frameworks. Another thing is originality. I think as Pawa, we will be launching a few programs for artivism, and therefore we'll be able to see how do you create original pieces from writing to producing, and how do you transition to advocacy. As you're talking about producing these pieces, they have to also understand copyright ownership. Let them register their pieces and all that, so that they ensure that their pieces are protected by the law as well. Another thing I want to say is that during advocacy, even artivists have to learn the whole process. So you just won't wake up one day, go for mandamano, take pictures and sit back. What are you doing with those pictures and pieces?
So like artist, you have to know what you are speaking.
Exactly.
There's no way nitakuja hapa niseme niongee piece then uniulize ulikuwa unaongelelea nini hapa. Now there's no way unaweza sema msee amefanya something ama unaweza simama wewe mwenyewe you talk about something yenye iko kwa sheria na ujui actually iko kwa clause gani, article gani. You must know constitution, unafaa usome. Then ukiongelea vitu za climate change, you must know about environment and all that. It's not just unaenda kusimama pale hata love song, if you have to sing a love song, first of all lazima ujue kupenda. Physically wewe mwenyewe tuseme outside art, lazima ujue mapenzi ni nini. Kama ni art break lazima tu kuna mali unshapigwa. So for the audience to feel you and anybody to understand you, first of all lazima uvae kiatu ya msenye si msanii. So it's quite like we are just talking. Itakuwa program noise. So lazima tu you know what you're speaking. First of all, fanya research and do all those, consult na wase. Most of the time nasumbanga wabeshi zangu naambia niko na hii idea, but the idea wewe sasa niambie nikiongelea this and this sija understand iko wapi, nataka kusample a certain beat, how can I do it ndio nisivunje right ya mwenyewe na mimi mwenyewe hiyo right isinivunje. So those are the things in we as an artist we need to know. See artivism peke yake. First of all you must understand what is art, what is production, and what is writing and all that. How do you package your content?
And speaking of packaging content, could you kindly do one piece as we take a quick break, and then we will come back and conclude our conversation?
Okay, so right. So the piece I'm gonna do about now is it's called Mali Nimetoka. So actually ina summarize from where niko na mali vitu zote zina happen kwa mtaa, about the youths and the elderly and everything. So Mali nimetoka mabatini. Mali nimetoka mabatini. Flowers and rocks kando na mto. And just like that river, I have been running ever since. Now I see why mama used to tell me life is a marathon. Ukiweka mguu moja mbele lazima tu ukumbuke mali nimetoka. Na mali nimetoka, only God loves soul. Sisi tunajaribu kujipenda na social media. Chini ya jua kuna kitu mpya news. Asua zile ziko kwa training chapter, masikio na capture mind na believe the picture. Bendera inafuata upepo, watu wanenanga na waves wanazama ndani ya maji. Bottom pressure ni kumake it to the top. Tamaa inakuja na forbidden fruit. Kijana na kuanga na hydrophobia anapatikana na majini nyumbani. Naitrana na kimbiza nyota zako, ndoto zinakuweka on toes na nightmares. Race to the future, 100 years from now wewe ni skeleton too, just a no body. Mahali nimetoka, kila kijana ni msanii. Talanta na hela ni vitu mbili mahali tofauti, na tena si walking distance. John the Baptist ni ile jina kubwa ndani ya mainstream. Tumeokoa jahazi kwa kina Peter na John Jesus. Tunaomba uwepo wako sahi, tupatie flow ya international waters. Kuna wenye wanataka kuwa fishers of men, na kuna wenye wanataka kuwa fishers ndani ya maji, na kuna wenye bado wanataka tu kucheza na big fish ndani ya maji. Mahali nimetoka, grassroots hakuna maji ya kutosha. Nyasi zinakauka, greener pasture zinapoteza rangi, chakula zinapanda bei, champions wanashinda njaa, politics na chip za rungu, vurugu kwa vichwa vya vijana, leadership sungwana na utu. Ni how famous are you, then how smart are you kudanganya ukweli. Sirens hazijai kuwa na habari njema. Cops and gangsters, sare na maplatoons, civilians kwa tunes, risasi, bus station, safari, Chiromo na maua, kicking the bucket kudai majibora, licking the casket kudai mashabora. Toast to our fallen comrades for the freedom of the rising comrades, for this soil and our own blood. May you forever rest in our own veins. May we forever keep on fighting for everlasting freedom. Jesus lazima tu alazaliwe kwa singulum ya majenzis. Bad news, good news ina Kaleonga Chapo, pasta na waumini wake, kila ploti na msalaba wake, mtu wa kuuza makaa na sadaka lake mbele ya makaa sisi. Mahali nimetoka, sijai kuwa na dreams za walimu. But when I open my eyes, najua niko na pupils, blindfold ni bandana nyeusi, wishing naeza kuwa eyewitness mali watu wana get rich wearing masks mchana usiku. Poverty ni rare species, inataka maximum security. Walala high wana donate bed of lies kwa lala hoi. Femi ya mtura ni extra budget ya tissue kwa tajiri. Klabu ni mheshimiwa, akona laji za pombe. Buda ni mlevi, najua feelings za kuruka sapa juu mzazi amelala kwa mtaro kifudi. Nyumbani kuna echoes of thought kwa akili za breadwinners, change of characters, birth of villains, dark shades kwa mati, black eye kuna mark ya punchline ya sira. Najua jirani amepitia gender based violence nikimwona kwa sura, sikia vibration ya sauti yake haiko sambamba. Najua jirani alionyeshwa insecurity moto mali kuna usalama kwa wote. Justice ni cup of tea kwa tajiri, sukari nusu kijiko koko na connection to that cup, then coffee kwa maskini. Mali nimetoka, court hearing mara mingi wanga laws kwa kila common na inski. Mali nimetoka, tunakulanga machungu, hata ukiamua kutupeleka lunch kwa hoteli za watamu. Mali nimetoka, life ni jokes tu, koko na ribs to break, wenye wako na shida za kifua, kila kitu ni ka heart attack. Mali nimetoka, ndio tulikuja na biography yenye hatuwezi define. Thank you.
Wow, we snap. Mahali tumetoka. That was a piece by kijana Mtanashati himself. And I mean, just how words come out of your mouth. I can say that we are really squeezed for time here. So alternatively, we were supposed to go on a break, but we will not. We'll just conclude the show and then we go as we go. So maybe this is time for final remarks, and I will start with you. What would your clarion call be to the artivists themselves, to policy makers, policy takers?
Yeah.
Yes, the CSO space, because, we work a lot with them as well.
Yeah.
In terms of how then do we move forward in terms of strengthening the work of artivism in their contribution towards democracy.
So number one for activists is knowledge. Knowledge is your best friend wherever you need to be, where there is knowledge. Yeah. And when you get this knowledge, also empower your communities. Number two, community. Work with community in a community so that you are able to avoid things like profiling and all that. But most importantly, in cases where you get yourself being profiled, use alternative art, satire, comics, and all that cannot easily put you into problems. Number three, explore other avenues like digital platforms to push for your work. Number four, monetize your work. Trade as a business. You'll be able to improve your livelihood. Number five, thrive to understand the dynamics of your industry so that you're able to change the narrative in the artivism space.
Yes.
And that would also help civil society to go with how you present yourself is how you'll be taken.
Yes.
Lastly, for activists, mental health is very important. Please, if you need to seek help, seek help. Whenever you need to rest, take rest. Whenever you need to, not produce that art, don't produce it. Just be there as an artist. For civil society organizations, I'll emphasize this. Art is not a 5 minutes performance during break. Activism is not a 5 minutes performance during break. We must also invest in understanding what activism is, and Pawa will be launching a program soon to be able to empower some of the people we work with to just understand what is activism and how can they better engage artists. Number 2, engage activists from the word go. So that they are able to be part of your programs, integrate their work in your programs. Number 3, empower them as much as you can, so they are able to represent the work that you do and societal issues in an accurate way. Let's talk about the government. The government has a big role in facilitating everything that we do as citizens. So how do we establish dialogue between government and civil society and activists for them to understand the importance of activism, even in civic education, because that's their role. So if they're able to incorporate art in their work, it would be very easy. How can they ensure that we have favorable policies that promote the creative industry at large? Because the creative industry will then employ other artists and also will be able to include activism even in itself as a component in advancing the livelihoods of young people. I'm saying young people because most activists, most artists, most people in the creative economy are actually young people. And also they should involve these artists and activists in policy dialogues. They're not just entertainment. And the reason why a lot of creative industry policies are the way they are is because for a very long time artists have been sidelined. Artists in general, I heard you say you're a tailor, and even tailors are part of the creative industry. So how do you involve them in policy conversations so they are able to influence their industry and make it work for them? Because if it works for them, it will work for Kenya as well, because the creative industry is a big contributor to the GDP. Lastly, for activists, for CSOs, for the government, monitor and evaluate the impact of your work. For activists, after doing your advocacy, after collaborating with other people to push for change, make sure you come back and monitor what has been the impact, what has changed, so that we are able to change the narrative of activism is just performance, but we are also able to show the impact of what it has shown in our society. I think that's what I'd say. And for Power 254, we are definitely an activism of organization. We are big on this. And we have other players who are also coming in the space, like for Amsiv, I think in a Siasa place. So if you're able to plug into those spaces, I think as an activist, an upcoming activist, an established activist, that would be good. And also just being able to create a space for mentorship for established artists like now Mtanashati, kina Mufasa, kina Goofy, if they're able to come back and give back to the upcoming artivists or those who aspiring, not upcoming, let me call them aspiring, I think it will be very great. But Pawa has other programs. We have a manual that we'll be launching soon on activism. We have a curriculum as well that will be able to help activists now know exactly what this is about. How can I go about it? How can we make it? How can you make a career out of it? Another thing is that we've been doing exhibitions. And we plan to continue. These are spaces that we provide for activists and any other artists, even fashion designers, if you create just for commercial purposes, to come and sell your art, interact with other artists, network, collaborate, and be able to enhance livelihood, but also create a community of artists as well. Lastly, we also do master classes on different things, I think on poetry, on music, on different forms of literature, performance arts, and just be on the lookout when Pawa will be rolling out these things. I think probably next year, since we're in the last quarter, we'll be happy to mentor as many artists as possible. Other than that, I am a proud associator of activists, and I look forward to a Kenya and a society where activism is not just a tool of entertainment, but it's actually a societal tool for change. And I look forward to us upholding activism to the space that it needs to be upheld. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Me sitarudia everything Mario mesema. So I will just speak directly to the artist and the art itself. You see, art is something like timeless thing, flawless thing. Design yenye you can change it the way you want it, and you can direct it mali unataka. And an artist, first of all, you must know that in every life, whether hapa ama kitambo ama in future, in every dimension, artist will always live in rejection. Because you are challenging the society, you're challenging the normal livelihood, you're changing the normal standards. Because you are more like sitaki kusema like God with the capital G, but with the small. You are a God.
Yeah.
So if you are a God, people who are not like you see what they did to Jesus, the same thing they are doing to artists.
Yeah.
So you can prophesy and you can bring people back on time.
Yeah.
Mali walikoseanga. You can see that. Because artists in somebody when unaishi in a space where normally human beings are not, wawana hiyo capability ya live there.
Yeah.
That's why you will always be rejected, you will always persecuted. Kuna wenye wanauliwa na kuna wenye career zao zinakuwa zinamalizwa yote.
Yeah.
So as an artist, you must know how to channel these energies and turn them into a positive energy. If somebody is rejecting you somewhere, look for a space where you can be accepted.
Yeah.
At the same time, know how to channel your energies, vibrations, iende wapi. Now, ukumali yenye, ukiongea, these people are like, no. Hapo ndo Marion amesema, know how to package the content. Ukiongea direct, au watu wakusikia. Turn to humor. Turn to humor. Me, back in the days, nilikuwa naongea direct. Then I saw like, hii kitu hakuna mali itanipeleka, itanipatia shida. And I still want to be an artist as long as I can live on this art. So now I have to turn to methali, proverbs, hizo masatires. I have to repackage the news. So there's a piece I'm working on right now is supposed to be released like next month. The piece is called The Death of a Tortoise.
Yeah.
So we all know tortoise is a slow animal.
Yeah.
Na death pia hiyo kifo yake sasa pia inafaa ikuwe slow. Now the piece nitakwambia like inaongelelea about the abductions and the torture yenye msevenye tuseme during the Gen Z times. Kuna wenye walikuwa tortured and all that. So the piece will be talking about all that. But the way I'm addressing the piece, huwezi jua I'm actually speaking to somebody in the government right now. So those are the things you are an artist who must have to sit down and see. Be able to communicate with your art. Not just writing. Communicate. First of all, ongea na sana yako we mwenyewe. Ujue how can you flow with the art. Sit down, meditate about your art. Isikuwa uko na haraka to release just a piece. Inaweza kuwa the start of your big fame, ama inaweza kuwa the start of your downfall. Don't be in a hurry. Take time to learn, consult and all that. From every angle, isikuwe tu uko tu kwa kona moja. You are an artist, you can venture in anything as long as your art continue to flow. So art is something like, if you know, art is supposed to be sacred.
Right.
And it's supposed to be inspiring and expressions. So those are the things you must hold art venye nafaa. Only that art itakulinda. Mimi kitunza art, something lenye says takamsema wote atampa nayo. Then this art will bring me what I need. Itanipatia social change nataka na itanipatia zile vitu nataka. If you respect that art and uitunze vile nafaa, venye unatunza mtoto mdogo. Because art inazanga nikaa apale sasa mtoto ametengenezwa kwa tumbo, lazima atunzwe after 9 months azaliwe and all that. This process inataka something yenye lazima you have to make sacrifice zile zenye zinatakikana. Don't overdo and don't underdo. So by the time mtoto anafika tuseme 25 anaweza jitegemea. Akifika 30 anaweza actually saidia mzazi. So that's the same as art. You cannot start art right now and start earning. Hata ukianza leo kuwe famous, kuna time art itanyamaza na hiyo fame sasa nitaanza kukutorment because you are not prepared for that.
Exactly.
So that's the only thing nizambia wasanii like sana don't expect in the field of activism, the only thing unaweza expect change to the community you are serving.
Wow.
Isikuwe 24/7 you don't want money. Cause mimi nikitaka pesa sahi imaanisha Marion juu ana work na Pawa wakija mtaa yangu sitatoka kwa nyumba unless wanilipe.
Yeah.
But actually wako kwa mtaa yangu.
Yeah.
So there's no way mika msanii utakuja mtaa yangu alafu nikwambie unilipe. Na mimi yenyewe nataka change kwa hii mtaa yangu.
Yeah.
So kuna time yenyewe you have to do things on a voluntary level. Unakuja mtaa yangu ni sawa. Mimi nataka change kwa hii mtaa. So let me do this. So wakikuita sasa stages zingine, platforms zingine, hapo sasa unaambia enyewe mtanilipa. But si changes iko kwenyu, iko kwa nyumba yako, uwezi expect mgeni akulipe.
That's true.
Bia inalingana na the level of hiyo event yenyewe. Kama ni ile ni kubwa yenye wanalipa wasanii wanakuja pia, wewe pia lazima ulipwe. But kuna vitu zingine kama create awareness about teenage pregnancy, create awareness about civic education pale kwa nini, kwa community hall. Those are the things yenyewe unafaa take lead na ufanye hivyo. Those are the things yenyewe sisi kama wasanii tuna miss kuona.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. I will. Yes.
So lastly, about funding, I think it's important that I say this before we end the show.
Yeah.
Please let us allocate resources for artivism and artists in general. Art is very expensive for development partners, for donors, for civil society.
Yeah.
Please let us stop the behavior of us. The production process of art is very, very expensive.
Yes.
Exhibitions are expensive. Productions are expensive. Please let us be intentional about allocating proper resources for artivism.
Wow.
For us to be able to see true change. Thank you.
Awesome. As you've heard it, invest in artivism. That has been Marion, Ngayi, and Mtanashati. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming.
Thank you for
onto
having
the
us.
Power Morning Drive Show. We do this each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. Coming up next is Shiva Sessions with Caroline Murota. Then later on, join our boys, the dynamic duo of DJ CJ Kenya alongside Elijah Mose with Gift of Gab. As for us, we are out. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.
Epinika. Wishi maglep. Wishi magndal. Timbe magdano. Binadamu na maumbile. Kijana. Mtanashati. Hapo mwanzo tulikuwa na time, master of season, then perfect art ya binadamu kachoro na udongo. Toka kwa hati ya binadamu wakachonga sanamu zao, maombi ikaanza, religion tukapata saint and unbelievers, politics ikapena chain of command, slaves wakamaster haki kwa sauti ya unyonge, ukombozi kaleta kingdom mpya. Kawaida to maintain balance ya nature, death ilishavamia life kitambo, suffering ikanel down son of God, asira za msumari tunasoma on the palm of his hands. Wale wanabudu miungu wakaanza kutumia shepherd ka sacrificial lamb, wale wanatumianga juu wakaanza kuwa afraid of fight. Madaktari wamitishamba, wengine wakapata white collar jobs wakasahau mzizi zao. Wale wanabow down kwa mvua, mawingu ilikosa dalili, signs of hope nilicheki kwa rainbow na signature urembo. Mwenye nakata tamaa, how I wish angepata Selassie sharp, cause there is more in the world than the world in us. Waves za bahari, mvuvi anagunduanga, kumbe boat inajua kudance na tempo ya maji, na msee akona mguu zote za left. After kumaliza calculation aligunduanga, kumbe dance hainanga formula, wacha aende na off beat, bora yeye anajibamba kivyake.
What's popping hivi?
Tangu nizaliwe sijaiona storyteller pendanginess, sijaisikia noisemaker najifanyanga monologue. Karibia na kiti kwenye hii kingdom, mtu mwonga pendangi rekebisho, na msemango ukweli usiku analala kwa bed of lies, na babu kale na sigara. Kuna vile najua wasanii ni pombe, ngono na shetani. Waliopata hits mingi sana duniani watapokea moto kule jahanamu. Na kijana wa dreadlocks ananga akili, Kwa familia kipara safi ni kitambulisho cha kuwa na brighter future. Tunajudge watu na cover zao wakati tulikataa kusoma maandishi kwa ndani yao. Mimi naamini greatness inafaa kungoja kila msee. Mbona nadai kupanda mbio, nojai funzo baby steps kwa nasari. Bed, utajiri ni pesa, tumezaliwa, tumepata ni hivyo. Jasho inapanguzwa na damu, growth ya maskini ni kansa kwa tajiri. Bidii ya akili yako ndio inapea jirani yako maumivu ya kichwa. Atakaa niko na shingo refu design ya twiga, mbona na find it hard to stick out my neck for you. Roho kaa ni mbaya mtu wangu. Hata ufanye transplant ya moyo bado wezi kuwa na change of heart. Tuna aim for success, na success kumbe inatulenga. Joy. Joy. In the beginning, tuligundua kuna mwisho. Nikarealize, no matter how sweet the food of life is, in the end, itabaki so raw na bitter taste. Kifo, pia kuna life refu. Tabia, words, love and hate, imani na mani, chakula na poison, za watu na wanyama. Inaniacha na mawazo nusu mkate na jam. Nafikiria, maybe chameleon pia wanaogopa change. Maybe professional mourners wana deserve tears of joy after their work. Maybe tunaweza kuwa na kile ya kaburi tubebe watu on the same ground. Maybe tunaweza kuwa na usingizi ya mwenda zake tuwe na so many unfinished dreams. Maybe mwenda wazimu ni mtu ameamua kumind his own business after all. Aezi take cover hata kiona nudist ana design nguo kikomba. Maybe the worst things ina depend vile unaangalia vitu at a better angle. In every mistake there is beauty, na kwa kila rembo haikosi doa. Love kwa kila affections a be holder. Ndoa ni flower, pati ya moyo, shinga panga kwa harusi kuu. Kata na shoka kuna kisa utakula ki hapo. Staki kumeza keki, nipe wembe ni kukomboki ya wenye wivu. Dunia mini single out na album ya kuchoma picha. Hata tusikize ngoma za passenger kwa lori moja, baada tuwezi ku own the same track.
From sunrise to sunset, all day and night. Power Radio.